Hi, I'm Joe Kandra. I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, cartoonist, and you're listening to GuildCast.
GuildCast is a weekly podcast series based on the three pillars of the Graphic Artists Guild: advocacy, community, and business resources. Keep listening to learn more about the Graphic Artists Guild and visit our website at www.graphicartistsguild.org.
And how I got started, my friends and family gave me business to do, projects to help them with. So my friends and family really got me started as a freelancer. So a question is, should you discount friends and family? And my answer is, you can, but I let them know ahead of time that I'm going to treat them just like I do any other client. I have them sign service agreements. I invoice them. I treat them just like anybody else. I have a friend who's also a client, and if we have to have a business dinner, we'll spend 5 minutes talking about business, and we're like, okay, time's up. Let's have fun now.
GuildCast Resources is back with another classic from the Guild Webinars archive. Hop on the roller coaster. How to become a successful freelancer with Dawn Mitchell.
Hi, everybody. How are you today? Well, thank you for coming. Today, we're going to talk about how to be a successful freelancer. And before we do that, I wanted to share a nice little family photo of my husband, Kyle, my puppy, Akira, and myself. And when I'm not in front of the computer, I'm running away as far as I can to the outdoors. So this is what I usually look like on the weekends. And my passion is helping small to medium-sized businesses, so I guess that's one of my niches. I've helped hundreds of companies throughout the years, and when I started freelancing, I had to learn everything myself, so I figured I would share my expertise with you. Not every graphic designer or illustrator does things the same way, especially if you're a freelancer, but I thought I'd give you some nice tips and tricks to help you on your way. And let's get started. First of all, I wanted to share my story with you on how I became a full-time freelancer. I was living in South Florida, working at a small advertising agency, and I had been working there for about 8 years. I was a little miserable. I had learned as much as I could learn, and my creativity was being a little stifled. So I was just looking for something new. My husband was a designer as well, and his position was actually being outsourced overseas. So with both of us needing something new, we decided to pack up and move to North Carolina, which was the scariest experience in my life because looking back on it, it was a really stupid decision, but it worked out for the best. Luckily, he was able to work from home for his existing company for a little while longer. And what I did, I freelanced on the side while I was looking for a new full-time job. And I wanted to take my time and find something that I liked. And pretty soon I got too busy to look for a full-time job anymore. So I decided, hey, this freelancing thing might actually be kind of cool. So 12 years later, it's keeping me very busy and I don't have any regrets. So hopefully my story will help you make a good decision on whether to become a full-time freelancer or if, to do more. And my first question for me to you would be why? Why do you want to become a full-time freelancer? Are you tired of your day job and ready for a change? Have you recently been laid off and trying to fill in the gaps looking for a new full-time position? Do you freelance on the side and are too busy for full-time work? And do you want more money and more flexibility? But before we get into the presentation, I do want to remind you guys we have a lot of information to go through. So we're probably going to be here. The main presentation is just a little over an hour, but we'll be answering questions as well. But before I get started, I wanted to give you guys a word of caution. Freelancing is not just about being a designer. It's about owning a business. It's your livelihood and how you put food on your table. Clients are going to trust you to do what's best for them. And without your clients, you're not going to survive as a freelancer. Be there for them as it's all about their needs. And most importantly, have fun. This is your hobby. Make it work. Freelancing is awesome. And before we get in, I do have helpful tips I wanted to share with you, but I do have a few other words of caution for you. Make sure to keep good books and pay taxes when you're supposed to. Every state is different, so make sure to check your state laws. You're in charge of your own sick days, vacation time, and health benefits, so make sure to put some money aside for that. You're in charge of your clients' needs and wants. Not every project is a portfolio piece with a large budget and a nice timeline. A lot of times, especially with working with smaller clients, you have a smaller budget with a quick turnaround, and you have other clients that they might like starbursts or they might like blinking buttons on their website. So you as a professional should give them advice, but at the same time, remember that it's their project as well, and they're the one who are going to be paying the bills. So bottom line is, sometimes you need to just step back and let them do what they want to do. And it's going to be in your hands to solve an issue or a problem or to do a make good. You don't have a manager, or you're not going to have a company owner. Like if a printing project goes wrong and you have to do a reprint, you're going to have to pay for it. I always like to try to go a case-by-case basis. Maybe the printer messed up. Maybe the client approved something that they shouldn't have. Maybe you messed up. Maybe it's a little, maybe you need to share blame for a couple different people, so you might have to share costs. But remember that any problems that arise, you're going to have to solve them. You have a lot of flexibility, but it's also easy to become a workaholic or a slacker. So you need to have discipline. Don't work too much, but at the same time, keep a nice personal life, but keep a nice business life as well. So it's all about balance. It's really exciting, but it's going to scare you to death at times. Sometimes you'll be slow in the morning and you'll panic because you need to get more work in, and then all of a sudden everybody will come in and you'll be slammed in the afternoon. So it's a lot of roller coastering, ups and downs. And also, since you're the business owner, you're allowed to say no and to fire clients if they're not a good fit, and prospects, and vice versa. If you don't do a good job for them, they can fire you. If they don't do a good job for you, you can fire them as well. And I do have some helpful tips to help you be more successful as a freelancer. I recommend definitely having a dedicated office space and set office hours, along with a business phone line. These helps you define that space between your personal life and your business life. I come across some freelancers that work off their dining room table or work on the couch watching TV. You really need an office and a desk, and you might have a couple of monitors that you work with just to kind of sprawl out. So make sure you have a dedicated office space. Also, having a phone line just for business is a really good idea. I don't like to give out my cell phone number unless I have to, or I try to make it clear when clients call me on my cell phone that they know it's my cell phone and my emergency line, simply because I don't want people texting me and calling my cell phone at like midnight on a Saturday night. So I try to keep office hours, and I try to stick to that. Always learn new skills. If you're not continuing to learn, you're going to fall behind, especially when you're a freelancer. It's kind of hard to keep up when you're not around a lot of creative people all the time. You can take Linda courses, you can take webinars like this one and others. You can subscribe to email newsletters and so on and so forth. This is one of the most important tips that I have. Respond to messages and emails promptly, preferably within a couple of hours. If not, definitely not more than 24 hours. I get most of my new clients from other designers that don't answer their phones and emails. My clients are in a bind, they don't know what to do, and they leave that designer and come to me. That's the worst thing you can do, is not reply to a message. So even if you might be like on vacation or have a meeting, just don't worry to just send them a quick note just to say, hey, I'm unavailable right now. Going to get back to you tomorrow, or I'll get back to you next week when I get into town, just so that they'll know to wait around for you. And you're going to have to learn stress and time management. The job gets very, very stressful, and it can get very, very overwhelming. So learning how to manage your time better and learn how to manage stress learn how to just take a break and just take a deep breath and then start back later. It's a good practice for you to have. And I see my next tip in some of my vendors, and it annoys the crap out of me. Don't do too many personal things during your workday. Yes, you're a freelancer. Yes, you're the business owner, and you have the flexibility to do whatever you want. But like, I have a couple of vendors that go get their nails done, or they get their hair done, or they go to the pool, or they're taking their kids here and there, or they're going to the movies or to the gym. Where is time for me? And in that instance, if they're a vendor of mine, I'm the client. And if I'm waiting for them to be done with their personal stuff to kind of fit me in between things, it kind of turns me off. And I'm sure it's probably the same for clients. So it's nice to have flexibility, because you can do personal things during the day. You can go to the doctor. You can take your dog to the vet. But try not to have it overtake your workday often. Make sure to back up your files. Believe it or not, clients will come to you out of the woodwork. You might not have heard from a client in years, and they'll just come back and say, hey, by any chance, do you have that file that you worked with me on 10 years ago? And I'm happy to say, yes, I do. Clients will not keep their own files, or they'll lose them. They'll ask you 20 times for the same logo file. So make sure and you stay organized on your side and just back up your files for them. And I see this a lot also with some freelancers. Don't be arrogant. Listen to what your client's needs are. You should have a nice, friendly relationship with your client. Sometimes a client has set in their ways what they're looking for. It's your job to lead them in the right direction, but don't be a jerk about it, because if you're hard to get along with, they're going to go elsewhere. And sometimes it's just hard to work with people that think they know it all. So what I try to do, yes, I have the experience. I've been in the industry for many years, but if a client wants to put an ugly starburst on their project, at the end of the day, it's their project. They get a starburst. Of course, I'm going to try to nicely design it. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a client who I designed a website for. He wanted a blinking red button on his wonderfully designed website. So, of course, I had a little internal temper tantrum. Then I started doing research on how to make a button fade in and out. So he has a burgundy button that fades on his website, and it doesn't look as horrible as a blinking bright red button. Let clients know when their project is going to be scheduled. Sometimes clients just don't understand that you have other clients other than them. So sometimes, like if a project comes in today that's a quick little project, I might say, hey, I'm look for something for me by Friday. This goes into my next step, which would be keep clients up to date on your progress, even if you're behind. I've noticed one thing that clients love the most is communication. So, and it goes back to that don't disappear on your clients thing, because they might go somewhere else. If you're really, really behind and you've just had a hectic week and you promised somebody that they would see a design on Friday and you haven't even started thinking about it yet, don't be afraid. Give them a call. Reach out to them in an email and say, hey, listen, I am so sorry. This week got away from me. I know I promised you a design today, but I don't want to rush through something. Do you mind if I get you something to look at Monday or Tuesday? 9 times out of 10, they will be completely happy with that, and they will be thankful that you alerted them as to what was going on your end instead of ignoring them. And but be mindful, if they're on deadline, it might push their deadline off a little bit. So just be mindful that you're not pushing the projects that can't be pushed. Bottom line is keep your clients happy, keep in touch with them. If you haven't heard from them in a while, don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and say hi, or just send them an email and say, hey, I was thinking of you. How are things going? They do appreciate that. Send them a birthday card, maybe send them a little holiday gift. I went to vacation in Cuba a couple months ago, and I knew that one of my clients loved cigars. So I thought it would be really cool for me to bring back a Cuban cigar for him, and he was just ecstatic about it. And this is a tip that my advertising agency gave to me when I worked with them. don't rely on just a few large clients. Some people wait for that huge client to come in and they don't have to do anything else. Don't, because chances are clients change. And if you have just a couple of large clients and they end up leaving, you're screwed. How are you going to put food on your table? Make sure to keep a couple of small to medium-sized clients in your wheelhouse just to keep things moving and fill in the gaps when you need it. Clients leave for several reasons, especially large ones. They might go bankrupt. They might get bought out. And if they merge with another company, the other company might has an advertising agency that they already work with or an in-house team. So clients don't just leave because they don't like you. There might be other reasons there. So don't put all your eggs in one basket just to be on the safe side and keep a backup plan. Get everything in writing for a paper trail if you need one. I have everybody send me emails, especially if there are changes. But if I'm on the phone with a client, I'll make sure to try to take good notes, especially in person or by phone. But if you start to have an issue with somebody, make sure that their communication with you is in an email, just in case you need to prove something later on. You can go back and revisit. Or if you have revisions and the client says, hey, you missed something, you can go back and review it later. Doesn't hurt. You don't have to go back very often, hopefully. But it's nice to have something just in case. Take breaks often and take creative field trips. My husband works at home also, and luckily his employer makes them take breaks every once in a while, so it forces me to take breaks. He takes a 15-minute break in mid-morning around 10:30 in the morning, and again in the afternoon around 3:30 in the afternoon for 15 minutes. We also take an hour for lunch, or if I'm really busy, I'll take a half an hour.
GuildCast is a weekly podcast series based on the 3 pillars of the Graphic Artists Guild: advocacy, community, and business resources. Keep listening to learn more about the Graphic Artists Guild and visit our website at www.graphicartistsguild.org.
So we take 15 minutes in the morning and afternoon. We take an hour for lunch, and it's nice to take a break and refresh your mind, because sometimes you might be blocking on a project and you just need something to kind of refresh your brain. Other tips include, maybe if you're blocking on a project and just need to get away, you can maybe take a walk, maybe take a shower, go for a swim, go for a drive. Just do something that is going to not make your mind think, but just something that you can do to kind of de-stress and get some ideas flowing. If you're busy, try not to work too late so you can wind down before bed. I know for a while during the day I was doing client work, and in the evening I was doing business coaching homework, like working on my business. So I was on the computer from like 9 a.m. to about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I was having horrible insomnia because I couldn't get to sleep. So what I try to do now, I try to stop my day before dinner. If I need to come back to the computer, I'll try to wind it down probably around 9 p.m. so that way I can get to sleep by midnight. But freelancers work all hours in the day and night, so do what you do is best. But my schedule is usually Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, since that's the time that my clients are around. Find great vendors to work with. Turn down. Your vendors are all going to have their certain niche. So if you find a printer that is not really good with digital printing, but great with offset printing, stick with them with offset printing. If another vendor is fantastic at digital but doesn't do offset, stick with them. Try to share the wealth. It's going to take a while to find fantastic vendors, but once you find them, stick with them. And on the side note, if you have a vendor that is not willing to work with you if there's a problem, they might not be a great vendor. I had a silk screener that I worked with, and their t-shirts started falling apart after a couple of washes. So I went to them. Obviously, the shirts weren't made well, and they weren't willing to do a make good. So I stopped working with him and started working with somebody else. The next thing's up. I only have a couple more in this section. A few more things. Try to turn down non-essential meetings. You might have salespeople, most of them that you might meet through networking events, like financial planners that might want to kind of sell you their business, but you might not necessarily need it. A lot of times they'll say, hey, I just want to meet with you for 15 minutes. It won't take too long. Well, it does take that long because you're going to be meeting for at least an hour, at least a minimum of a half an hour to an hour. You have to get ready. You have to drive to and from the meeting. Pretty soon, half the day's shot. So what I recommend is they might know people that you might want to be that you might want to be introduced to, but try to have a phone conversation with them instead, or save that meeting to a time that you have like a slow time, or just turn them down and say, I'm sorry, I'm only meeting with prospects or clients. Prospect love real print portfolios. And I've been told by a few people that they love to see the folds, they love to flip through and see different paper. If you're a digital designer or if you're an illustrator, that might not be as important, but it's really great to have a print portfolio because sometimes prospects like to flip through, and they do get different ideas from viewing your portfolio and flipping through. And lastly, remember your why and have fun. And I saved the best for last. Keep the handbook, the Graphic Artist Guild handbook handy. It is a treasure trove of information, and it'll definitely help you through your journey. And that's the end of my tips.
I think we're good
does anybody
so far.
have any questions so far? Alrighty. Awesome, good. Okay, so the next section, what I did, I put together a bunch of questions that I'll answer, and these are questions that I had when I was just starting out as a freelancer, so hopefully they'll help you with your journey. How much experience do I need to be a full-time freelancer? If it were up to me, I would say 10 plus years, but my husband and I, he's a designer as well, and we had a conversation, and he agreed that at least a minimum of 5 years of full-time experience would be ideal for you to hone your craft. If you go to design school, you're probably going to be learning how to create instead of how to run a business. So, and you're going to be learning after you get out of school. You're just going to be learning the basics. So you really need a full-time job so you can get that apprenticeship and have mentors help teach you. If you're right out of college, or if you're a full-time employee, you can moonlight as so you can gain experience and to build a client base. Or if you're trying to become a full-time freelancer, you can moonlight more often. But just note that it is going to take some time, so it's going to require some patience since you might be working day and night for a little bit. Should I set up a business? Yes, definitely, especially if you're going to be doing more than just moonlighting. It's a great way to keep your business financials separate from your personal financials so you can see how much you made in the business. You can keep track of your business records better, and certain business structures can protect you if something happens and you're ever sued. And I definitely recommend asking your CPA or attorney to help you get set up, so that way you can determine which business structure is right for you and get set up properly. I didn't have a good guidance when I got set up, so I actually need to go restructure my business because of that. And also, when you're getting set up, consider different government contract programs. If you're a woman-owned business or a veteran-owned business or minority-owned business, you can bid on different government jobs, or bids on projects. So if that's something that intrigues you, That's something to look into when you're starting your business. And I have a couple of links here for you to do more research. Next slide is, do I have to have a company name? It depends. I chose to have a company name because I wanted to sound a little more professional and have it be more memorable than my name. However, not many people know how to spell G4G Interactive. They always miss the second G or don't know how to spell it correctly. But when I was setting up, thinking of names for my business, at the time I was Dawn Kuhn and not Dawn Mitchell. I had gotten married in between that time, so keep that in mind also. If you might be changing your name in the future, think of a company name that is going to be long-lasting. But if worse comes to worse, you can change your company name or you can do a DBA. But I have included a couple links below so you can do a little more research about company names. Do you need to have a niche? I went to a conference not too long ago and I had a mentor tell me that I couldn't really be just a regular graphic designer. I needed to have a niche. For instance, if you like to design posters, that's all you should do is design posters. I see their point, but I kind of disagree with it a little bit. Of course, if you have a niche, follow it. And that might include things such as hand lettering or doing poster design or maybe doing work just for the music industry. You can have a niche and still do other design work, but focus on that niche from time to time. My niche is really designing real estate property offerings for commercial realtors, and my passion is helping small to medium-sized businesses. So I guess my niche came naturally, and once you get your feet wet, you'll know like what your specialty is. So that'll help you moving along. How do I get medical insurance? This is tricky, and you need to follow the insurance that's available in your area, and I've listed a couple of links below to help you. You can find insurance companies that offer individual health insurance, and sometimes they have group insurance where you can come under as an individual. So that's something to help with. I know US Health Group is a good resource. I used to be with Coventry One, but I think they have changed their things. And even better and cheaper sometimes, if you have a spouse or significant other who has insurance that they can add you, that's an awesome solution. But I have heard also that some plans don't allow the dependents to have a discount. So these two links might be able to help you if you need help, or you can reach out to different insurance companies in your area for help. Do you need business insurance? For years and years, I did not have business insurance, but after that plane went down in the Hudson, I started thinking about all those laptops that were in the Hudson River, and I called my insurance carrier to make sure that my computer equipment was covered just in case something like that happened, and it's not. So I quickly signed up for business insurance. It costs me, for a basic plan, it costs me about $500 a year. It's a great idea to have just in case you need it. Additional from business insurance, if it's right for you, you can look into getting errors and omissions coverage. It's a separate insurance policy, but the one I got a quote on was pretty expensive. It was about twice as expensive as regular business insurance. This is for instances like the ones you see in the paper every once in a while, that a company accidentally put televisions on sale for $12 instead of $1,200. So if you have errors and omissions coverage, it could help with stuff like that. Or if a large printing project goes wrong, you'll be covered. But I think the deductible might be like $2,500, and it might be more expensive than just not having it. So if that's something you're interested in, look into it and make sure that that's going to be right for your business. But if you work at home, especially having just regular business insurance, have a conversation with your insurance carrier for your homeowner's insurance, because since you have a home office, you can write those expenses off as a business expense, and sometimes your homeowner's insurance won't cover that, or you might have computer equipment that might be more expensive than what your homeowner's policy covers. So it might not be a bad idea to look into just to make sure you're covered.
Coming up on this episode of GuildCast.
And I recently met with an experienced designer not too long ago that just hopped into freelancing, and his hourly rate was like $40 or $50 an hour. And as a friend, I told him, I said, hey, you need to start charging more. But he does wonderful work. So I love meeting other designers. There's plenty of work for everybody. So it's nice to have that peer support also.
Join the Graphic Artists Guild to listen to the full version of this episode at www.graphicartistsguild.org. Thanks for listening to GuildCast. Coming up in next week's episode.
In order to get your online presence popping, like, okay, well, I'm going to click the link in your bio, and then what? Like, how, like, what? The clicking the link in my bio is to help you, in order for you to understand what it is to be on social media, how easy it is to put together the visuals, what you need in order to put together the best captions that are the most effective.
GuildCast is a weekly podcast series based on the 3 pillars of the Graphic Artists Guild: advocacy, community, and business resources. Keep listening to learn more about the Graphic Artists Guild and visit our website at www.graphicartistsguild.org.